We're live? Okay. Hi, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us from wherever you are. It's always a pleasure to have you with us during these FIRE sessions. We are glad to have this yet another session this Friday. Allow me to start with a word of prayer, just to invite God to be with us. So let's pray. Lord, we thank you for this evening. We thank you that we are well. We thank you for the gift of life. And we thank you for the opportunity to just share one with another our lessons, even around real estate investments. Lord, we want to welcome you to be with us from the beginning, even until the end. Thank you for all the SAVOites who are watching, wherever they are. I pray for a special blessing. Thank you for those who desire to watch, but they're not able to for one reason or another. I pray that you will enable them to watch now and even later, Lord. We commit this session into your hands. I pray that there shall be no interferences, that all will go well. We will not have any hitches. And at the end, Lord, we will give you glory and honor. We bless you, for you are a good God. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So today we're going to be talking about investing in real estate. Just, what is real estate? And I want to start with a question. When you think about real estate, what comes to your mind? Yeah? When you think about investing in properties, what comes to your mind? So I'll be happy if you can kindly share your thoughts around that. What comes to your mind first when you think about real estate? Yes. So just share with me your thoughts around that, and then we can pick up the conversation from there. I'd like this session to be very interactive. Yes, I'd like that you ask questions, and then, we just make it a discussion. Many of us have fears. Many of us have questions. Many of us probably have areas of just areas where we need more clarification. So I'd love if we can kindly send your questions through, and then we can have a more interactive session. Let me see who has joined us. I see lots of people in Instagram. Thank you. Gracie Wanjiro, Felix, very many people in Instagram. Thank you for joining us. Always a pleasure. Mr. Mcharo, honey, I can see you. Thanks, honey, for joining. Real estate is real wealth. Yes. That's Mr. Mcharo. Real estate is real wealth. That is true. We shall talk about that a little bit more. Isaac, very interesting topic. Thank you, Isaac. My dear husband is asking, there is no flower today. Yes, today there is no flower. He needs to buy more flowers. Yes, so that's that. Gerald, thank you. Always join us. And thanks for joining us today. You're saying can't wait to hear from the gurus. And we can't wait to hear from you, Gerald, as well. So please share. Real estate, I know, is owning buildings. Thanks for your thoughts around that. So you think real estate is owning buildings? Guys, please let's just share our thoughts. Gerald, I'd like to ask you a question. Who do you think are the owners of these buildings? What's your thought process around that? Okay. We will come back to that question, so hopefully guys can send more questions. In Facebook, I can see Wakesho Maingi. Welcome, Wakesho. Real estate is property. Yes, that's true. When I think about investing in real estate, I feel like it's expensive and hard to achieve. Thanks, Wakesho, for sharing that. So keywords from there: expensive, hard to achieve. Yeah, it's property. Sally. Good to be here today. Yes, thanks, Sally, and you're welcome. Looking good. Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Sally, for that. This other side, Hannah Kyoko, we have grown up knowing real estate is for the Wadosi, for the rich. Yes, that is very true. So we've heard from Akesha. So it's expensive, it's hard to achieve. So that's our mindset. We start from a place where we believe that it's difficult to achieve. And as Hannah has said, we also come from a place where we feel it's not for me, it's for the rich. It's the rich who are able to own real estate. So that's our mindset, and it really affects how we then move forward in terms of investing in real estate. My sister Maria Chero, welcome. Welcome, Rita, for joining. Oh, Lea, my mother. Welcome, Mom. Mom calls me Wangoi. And Mom says that it's very clear today. So thanks, guys. You must have done something good around sound. Welcome, everybody. So we can start. So I just wanted us to, any more ideas around our thoughts on real estate will be welcome. So let's start. Why do we think that real estate is expensive? Why do you think that real estate is for the rich? And who are these people? Who are these people we consider the rich? And can I also be one of those people? That's the question we'll be trying to answer today. Can I as Emily, as just someone, you know, who is of their career, can I also own real estate? I'm the answer is a big yes. All can own real estate in different degrees, probably in different sizes, but yes, we can all own property. Yeah, I can see Gaki. It needs one to take their time. True, that is true. Real estate requires a lot of time. It's not a quick win of investment or get rich quick investment. It requires a lot of time. It requires a lot of patience. The truth is, if you start investing in real estate and you want to make it in a year or even in 2, you are going to get discouraged. So you need to be ready for the long haul. You need to be ready to put in your time, put in your money, patiently wait for real estate to take, you know, to in a sense, to get to its full, not full glory, but to get to a place where you can now start enjoying the returns. And that takes time. I'll try and share our story. We've shared our story here many times. At the beginning, when Mr. Mcharo thought he'd like to build apartments, I laughed. And why did I laugh? Hannah has said here that real estate is for the rich. That was my thought. That was my thought process as well. We were not rich. We were very simple people. We were earning very little money. So when he said he wanted to own apartments or build apartments, for me it sounded like a joke. And I laughed at him. Thank God that, you know, in the Bible, there's a lady who laughed at her husband and it didn't go very well with her. Thank God that God forgave me and allowed me to see his dream come to pass. So that was really the beginning for us, where we were earning very little, where we believe real estate is for the rich and not for us. But because I was willing to listen to him, because I was willing to put in the time, and we together continuously worked towards achievement of that dream, we were actually able to achieve that dream. Gaki, you've said it takes time. Yes, it took us a lot of time. It took us about 15 years for our investment in real estate to actually start bearing, not really start bearing fruit, for it to enable us to achieve financial independence. At the beginning, it was very hard. We shared here at the beginning, we built about 23 rooms. And in the first years, we honestly had negative cash flows. We had negative cash flows because first, it took so long to get tenants. And eventually, even when we got tenants, at 23, that's still a very small number. So you might be seated somewhere and you're thinking, oh, 23 is many. Even if I owned just 5, those are many, maybe, you know, 5 units. But we had 23, but it was still difficult. So we needed to scale up. We needed to build more units. And that took a lot of time. That took a lot of time from us. That took a lot of just intentionally putting more money into the investment. It took us trying to figure out how to make a lot more money from our day jobs that we could then invest in real estate. We had to be very, very focused in terms of this is the only investment we are making. So we are not putting our money in other assets. So every coin literally went back there. The other thing we did is every shilling we got from there, we didn't eat the eggs of the investment. So every coin we got from there, every coin of rent we got from there, we actually reinvested it back. Yeah. So those are some of the things we went through. So we had to be very disciplined in terms of how we spent our money so that we put in a lot more of our income into the investment. Mcharo has shared here that for a very long time, all his income literally just went to the investment. All the rent that we got went back to the investment. And so for a long time, I mean, even people would look at you and wonder, we're not seeing a change in your lifestyle. I mean, you're still living like you don't quite earn a lot or anything, or you don't make money at all. And it's just because we had decided our standard of living would remain somewhere so that we're able to invest. Yeah. So that's really was our story. And it took time. I think it's after about the 7th year that we saw the income start going up. At the beginning, it's always, you know, if you have a graph, the income would just be down here, like really, really close to zero, you know, and it will start bumping up around the 7th year. And that's a lot of time. And even at the 7th year, it was not enough. It was not enough for us to sort of like meet our financial independence number. So we had to keep at it. It took another 8 years up to the 15th year for us to say, now the rental income we are making is enough for us to say we are financially independent. So that really was our story. So if you're thinking real estate and you're thinking quick, that is not true. If you're thinking real estate and you're thinking, it's an in and out and you made your money and you get out, that is not going to work. And then just the mindset that it is for the rich is actually something that we can all fight. It doesn't have to be for the rich. If Mcharo and I, at our age at that time, we could start investing in real estate with as little income as we had. We could start investing in real estate. It's possible for all of us. It just depends on how determined you are. Yeah. So that's been our story, and TSAVO's story is really because of that journey. So that means it is possible. Let me see more questions. Let's see. Oh. My sister is asking Mr. Mcharo to get me more colors. Maria Chero, my sister again. Sarah laughed but still got Isaac. Oh yes, thanks for helping me there. I wasn't sure which lady in the Bible laughed at her husband, but yes, it was Sarah. She laughed when she was told she was going to get a baby. And what happened after that? I think she didn't talk. She didn't talk until the time when the baby was born, just because she laughed at her husband. Yes, thanks Nduta, my mother again. Ibrahim laughed, or Mom is just quoting the scripture. I think it's Genesis chapter 17 and 18. Yes, she's also just saying that Sarah is the one who laughed in the Bible, and she didn't speak until the miracle came to pass. Yes. So ladies, let's not laugh at our husbands. So I have a question here from Sally. What are the benefits of investing in real estate? Okay, so what are the benefits of investing in real estate, just from what we have seen? The number one benefit, as Mr. Mcharo had said here, the number one benefit is if you want to create wealth, real estate is a sure path for you to create wealth, right? And I'll just say some of the reasons. Investing in real estate, especially real estate that gives you monthly cash flows, allows you to earn cash flows on a monthly basis, and then you're able to reinvest the cash flows. And when you reinvest the cash flows, I mean, that you income that you then get. So give you very stable cash flow. So I'm able to get rent stable. I could for a very, very long than in shares, there's no predictability because I'll be earning a dividend. Some years I won't earn a be able to earn well at the beginning, and you stable cash flows is that real estate inflation. So that is same value 5 years from today. Because 5 years from today, that's called inflation. But real estate is able to hedge you against inflation. The return in real estate is always above inflation rate. Yeah, so that's another benefit of investing in real estate. What are the other benefits of investing in real estate other than being an inflation hedge? It's a very good way to preserve your wealth. If you make money today and it's very liquid and you put it in real estate, it has close to zero risk. It is very, very low risk. So there's hardly anything that will sort of, in a sense, take away your investment in real estate. Like in business, you can start a business, but because of the fluctuations in business, you might find yourself losing your entire capital, that you have invested in a particular business. But in real estate, once you have invested, you will find that that asset remains there for a very, very long time. So it preserves your wealth. Again, remember that it is appreciating, right? Of course, we always say cash flows are better than appreciation because Mcharo says you can't eat appreciation. So, but because it's increasing in value, it's preserving the cash that you've put in, it is increasing in value, it is appreciating, and therefore it's also able to be a hedge against inflation. Yeah. I think something else that many people look at it as a disadvantage, but I see it as an advantage. Real estate is very illiquid. What I mean by that is, if I have a house, it's not as easy to sell a house as it is to sell maybe shares. Yeah, so it's not easily converted into cash. Or in comparison to maybe government securities are already in cash. You know, they're in cash or near cash form. So real estate is it takes time to sell it. It takes time and it's possibly even expensive to dispose of real estate. But I see that as an advantage because in case for one reason or another you feel I want cash, maybe to just blow up, or you actually have an emergency. It's not easy for you to sell your asset. So you look for other ways. It will enable you to be more creative, to look for other ways to solve your problem. And again, you will not be able to sell it to be able to just meet consumerism needs. So for that reason, it's an asset that is there and it is, in a sense, protected, because even you will find it hard to actually dispose it. So I actually see that as an advantage of investing in real estate. Generational wealth, I think the Bible says a good man leaves an inheritance for his children and his children's children. Real estate is a sure way of doing that, because whatever asset you leave for your children, if it is in, my mother used to say, don't invest in things that have wings, things that fly away. I mean, cars and things like that, even businesses. But real estate is, because of its nature, you're able to gift it even to your children and your children's children. I'll give you a little story. I've mentioned here that my dad died when we were very young, and I remember when my dad died, he had. I mean, in those days, he was a relatively wealthy person. We had transport buses, you know, these buses that ferry people from, for us, it was Bungoma to Nairobi. I can't remember the number. I was young at the time. Maybe we had 4 or 5 buses at that time. I mean, he had lorries, he had pickups. The movable things were there. But I don't think in 2 years those things had already gone. In 2 years after his death, they were all gone. There is no evidence of any of those assets that he left. I can't tell you why, but definitely because they're risky, they're not as stable as real estate. But my father left us a lot of real estate. I mean, he left us a parcel of land in Kitale that we still farm until today, a large parcel of land. He left us houses in a place called Webuye. He left us houses in Bungoma. He left us a plot right in the middle of the CBD in Bungoma. I mean, and the value must be reasonably very high now. I mean, he even left plots where my brothers ended up building their homes. So he left, in addition to the movable things, he actually left real estate. And in time, even when life was very difficult, it was very hard to liquidate some of those. Yes, I've said here my mother had to liquidate some, but those that remained are still there to date. And someone like my mom depends on the rental income she gets from the assets that my father left. And my father left in 1990. But my mother is able to be sustained from the rental income from the rental income of the assets that my father left. So that just says it is possible to leave real estate for generations to come, right? And even the fact that my brothers have been able to build on parcels of land that my father left, that also means that, you know, he left these things, and it is his children's children who are now enjoying it. So real estate allows you to do that. So those are some of the benefits of investing in real estate. Let me see if you have any other questions. Guys, please ask questions. We can continue. We find that people, generally people find it very hard. Sally Kim, thanks for, she's just listed down the benefits I've talked about. Stable and predictable cash flows, gives you a hedge against inflation, preservation of capital, yes, fantastic. Value appreciation with time, yes, encourages discipline in investing, and creation of generational wealth. Thank you, Sally, for pointing that out. So we find it very hard to invest in real estate, and Wakesho has asked here, where does one start? And that's a real question. So many of us, first we have the mindset of saying it is for the rich. And of course, so long as that's our mindset, it's going to be difficult. But number two, it is true that real estate is expensive, right? It is true that it is not as easily accessible as buying a Subaru. So we find it expensive. Even if you're willing to go the extra mile, getting the funding is again expensive because you must go to a financial institution, you must borrow, and thereafter you must pay with a lot of interest. So just that alone makes it extremely expensive. The other challenge that people find, I think, is just lack of understanding. What are the options in the market, right? As much as we're saying it's expensive, could there be other options that's possibly not as expensive as we think? And that's what we'll be exploring today. Could there be other options? Could there be other ways? And Wakesho will be talking about that. Could there be other ways of investing in real estate that people actually consider expensive? Yeah. We are really talking about real estate for investment. So, investing in an asset that will give you cash flows. The other problem that we all see is once you have actually invested, challenges around handling tenants, right? So I have invested somewhere. How do I ensure I get a tenant? That's a big one because you can invest and you end up with your houses and they're empty. So what can you do to make sure you get tenants, right? And even after you've gotten tenants, what can you do to make sure that your tenants are actually paying? So those are the challenges of investing in real estate. So where do you begin? When we were starting TSAVO, we spent a lot of time thinking, and we tried to identify these problems. And the way we worded it is that everybody, a lot of us are looking to have a secure financial future. Yeah. So we want to have financial security. Most of us, I think everybody you speak to would like to have financial security. So that's a problem. That's a need. And everyone is thinking, how do I make sure I end up with financial security? That's one. Two, everyone is thinking, yes, I would like to invest in real estate, but how do I find affordable investments? How do I find real estate investments that are affordable? And lastly, how do I, so affordable in price, and then that allows me to pay, with my convenience. So those are the problems we identified. And of course, the side of tenancy as well. So in TSAVO, we came up with our solution, yeah? In fact, our first solution is AAA, and AAA stands for Affordable Amazing Apartments. So we came up with these apartments that are affordable. Affordable because the price range, I should have asked the lady who said expensive. What's expensive in our minds? I think the normal price for real estate would possibly be what? 5 million, 10 million, 15, 30. So that's expensive, yeah? So we came up with units that are affordable because our price at the beginning was, I think the unit that has had the lowest price was actually 1.4 million. So at some point we had a unit we were selling for 1.4. No, actually we have had a unit for 1.1 million, yes. So 1.1 is not 5 million. So that price in itself is affordable, right? But again, if I came to you and told you, give me 1.1 million today, that becomes a little challenging again. You will still say it's expensive, right? So we came up with a payment plan that allows you to pay over time, yeah? And I know we have had, like that unit for 1.1 million, the least you can pay in a month is about 20,000, yeah? So you pay your deposit and then you pay monthly of 20,000. Now when you start talking of figures below 30, 20,000, 30,000, that becomes a bit more affordable. So when you talk to someone and you tell them 20, 30, they will give you a second ear because they're like, yeah, that's actually within reach. So that's what we did in TSAVO. First, be able to find real estate investments that are affordable from a price perspective. And number two, that the monthly payments are manageable. Because even if it's a million is not 5 million. But can we afford $1 million PAP? Most highly unlikely. So that's what we did in TSAVO. So that's affordability. Number two is amazing. So this problem of lack of tenants, because real estate only works and it's only able to give you this predictable cash flows when you have invested in units that have tenants, right? So you know that you're going to be getting rental income on a monthly basis. So what did we do in that space? The biggest question that determines whether you'll have a tenant or not is location. And in fact, when you're doing any analysis for real estate, you're told location, consider location, consider location, consider location. Consider location again and again and again. So if you're able to consider the location you're investing in, understand that location, understand who lives there, you will be able to end up in an area where you will definitely get tenants. And that's what we do. There are places where people tell us, you guys come and build here, and we're like, no, we're not going to build there. Why? Because we want very high occupancy rates. We want occupancy rates of 90 and above, 95 and above, you know. And that has been our experience. Right now, all our properties, we are at 90% and above. I mean, some, like in Bakassi, we are always at 100% occupancy. So location is a big deal. So in our solution, we actually really factored in location. After we've decided location, we definitely need to consider who is the targeted tenant, because you can't look at location without thinking of the targeted tenant. So for us, we focus on young professionals. So young professionals would like to live. Where do they want to live? They'd like to live in an area that is close to town, proximity to town. I can Uber easily. In fact, there's something they call, this is not very spiritual, they call it minimum staggering distance. So, you know, just a place they can be able to get very easily. So those are the kind of areas that young professionals would like to live. Of course, I don't want to drive so far to be able to get to work. I don't want to drive so far to be able to get to where my friends are. So those are some of the things we look at, even in TSAVO solution, to make sure that you always have a tenant. So in real estate, think of the location. Think about the tenant, because the tenant is the king. It doesn't matter how beautiful your apartments are. If there are no tenants, really, it's not a good investment. So think about the tenant. So yeah, and then the other problem we've sort of said, affordable, amazing apartments. Amazing is important. Why is amazing important? If I go to an area and I'm thinking, I want to stay in the Ndigwa area, I would look for apartments that look amazing. Yeah, we are all attracted to beauty. So Mr. Mcharo is a fantastic architect. So of course, he will design amazing buildings. So in any locality that we go, we want to define that area. I remember even at the beginning, we used to call it neighborhood defining buildings. So we want to go to an area and actually define that area, and for people to be able to live there. So those are our solutions. And lastly, the problem of, okay, first we will get you a tenant. So we have Lifestyle, which is now a company that ensures we get you a tenant and we remove the headache from you. So you won't struggle to get a tenant. You won't struggle to collect the rent. All that is taken, all that stress is taken away from you, and we're able to manage it for you seamlessly. So yeah, so those are the problems we consider. Those are the challenges that people find in investing in real estate, and those are the solutions we offer. So my dear Wakesho, where does one start? I'd like to say you can't invest what you don't have. So the first thing that you have as a young lady or as a young professional is your skills. So you first, unless you have an inheritance, so you first either get a job or start a business that gives you some level of income, and then that income is what you start investing, right? So you start by making sure you earn an income. And because you're offering your services, you can determine which employer do I want to work for. And of course, we will say it's hard to get a job, but the type of service you offer, how good you are even at your work, determines what level of income you will make, whether you'll get promotions, whether you'll get increments. All that is determined by how hard we work, yeah, at the beginning. Of course, you need the seed capital. And if you came to us after you started working, then you can structure, a payment structure like we have talked about. So you don't have to look for 5 million PAP. We can structure the payment plan, and then you're able to invest with us. Yes. In the benefits of investing in real estate, there's something I forgot to mention. Real estate, other than being a hedge against inflation, it's really a hedge against many risks. When everything else fails, you will survive on the rent. And even during this COVID period, we have seen people who've done that. When you have lost your income, it is your rent that will sustain you. So when everything else fails, real estate is the one that will possibly sort you out. So it helps in that sense. I was talking to a gentleman today who is running a relatively profitable business. And he said, yes, we are running this business and it is making money. It's a good business. But we need to invest these cash flows somewhere else where we know that, these cash flows will be stable in the years to come. So it gives you that safety net that when everything else fails, you have real estate to turn to. Okay? Let's see some questions here. Gaki, thanks Gaki. On living real estate as generational wealth, it's critical that those who inherit understand how to sustain and grow it rather than running it down. That is very true. I mean, we've watched very, very wealthy individuals in Kenya who have left a lot of real estate for their children. Yeah. So in addition to investing as a parent, my husband today shared, he reads Proverbs daily, and he shared his desire to be a good ancestor. And I think for him, in addition to leaving wealth for those who will come after him, for the generations of our future generations, in addition to leaving the wealth, it is actually leaving children who are solid, children who understand money, who understand how to preserve wealth, who understand how to make money. So if we do all this that we are learning here, and we then don't pass that knowledge, we will not pass the generational wealth because they will squander it. They will waste it. They will not know how to manage it. So it's a dual strategy. You leave generational wealth, yes, but you also leave wealth in the brain. Yeah, that is the only way the wealth will be sustained. So thanks, Gaki, for that addition. Kagweria Mwiti, how do you work out the returns and determine what is a good return? Thanks, Kagweria. So I have talked a lot about rent. I've talked a lot about cash flows. So you've invested in real estate. Your first gauge of your return is really how much rent are you getting. So you need to be able to compare the rent you're getting versus the amount of money you put in. So if I've given this example before, if I invest in a house for 15 million and I'm getting rent of 80,000, is that a good return or not? So you shouldn't just look at 80,000, the amount, but you should look at the 80,000 vis-a-vis the amount of money you have put in. And that in the real estate space is called the rental yield. So someone can say, I am earning 12,000, and you're saying, I earn 80,000. But the person of 12,000 probably put in only 1.4 million, right? Versus you who put in 15 and you're earning 80,000. So the way to gauge it is to compare the two, and you work out something called rental yield. So in the real estate space, especially residential, you will find that majority of units that give you consistent rent have a rental yield of 4 to 5%, right? I'll give you an example of TSAVO. We try our very best that all our investments, the investor gets a rental yield of 8%. So that is way above, what you would get on average in the market, yeah? So look at rental yield. That's one way of looking at it. So the higher the yield, the better the return for the investment. So if you have something for 8% and you have something for 15 is definitely better than 8. But on average, 8 should be good. So that's one way of looking at returns for real estate. Capital gains, yes, but yes, it is good for your assets to appreciate. However, the intention of rental income is such that you want to be able to continue earning that rent into the future and not necessarily to flip it. So if you have a strategy of invest, flip, that therefore becomes trading, right? Which is the same as trading in other instruments, so to speak. So capital gains, it's good to know that my house has appreciated, but because you don't have the intention to sell it, you might not cash in on the appreciation now. However, in the event that you really must dispose it, I mean, life happens, or sometimes maybe you might want to dispose it to be able to invest in a more lucrative idea or investment option. If it has appreciated, then of course you'll be able to cash in from the appreciation. So capital gains, again, is another way. The other thing that generally you look at is payback period. So you've invested 1.5 million. How long does it take you for you to get back the 1.5 million? Generally, real estate, 10 to 15 years. In fact, if you get 10, you're doing very well. So for us, you'll find with increments, because rent increases, every year, if possible, every year or every 2 years. You'll find some places you're able to increase by 5% every year or 10% every 2 years. Yeah. So if you factor in the rental increments, you'll find for our units, you're able to end up with a payback period of around about 9 to 10 years. While generally in the market, 15 years is the average payback period for real estate. So again, it takes time. Yeah. So Kogeri, I hope that helps. So that's some of the ways that you would be able to see the returns. But number one factor is cash flows. And don't despair at the beginning. Even if the cash flows seem 12,000, don't despair at the beginning. Yeah. And let's say, for example, you want to invest in our units and you're thinking, a studio, 12,000, 15,000. If you keep at it, buy one, buy a second one, buy a third one, get to 50, get to 100 units. Now the numbers start, the numbers literally become mind-boggling. Yes. Okay. Let me read a few questions in YouTube. Gerald Kiragu, can't wait to hear from Hannah, we are grown up. We have grown up knowing real estate is for the, yes. Hey, there are many questions here. Sonia Mohammed, how did you approach financing, especially after you left your bank position and lost the benefit of low interest rates? What is your advice on financing real estate projects? Okay. So Sonia, by the time I left the bank, what we were investing in, which was the hostels that really enabled us to become financially independent, we were done with building it. So we had built it, we had reached a number that we felt this is enough. So yes, I left banking. I of course had to spend time. I've shared here. I had to spend time really paying the loan. But after that, then I didn't need financing for our personal investment. Yes, we needed financing for our projects, but we don't borrow as TSAVO. What we did, Sonia, is to say, what do we need? We want to build, and we want to build for Sonia, for example. So our customer is Sonia, or our investor is Sonia, and we want to build. So why don't we go to Sonia and ask Sonia, are you willing to invest with us off plan? Are you willing to invest with us even as we are starting? And then this unit that would possibly have been 3 million come to you, Sonia, and ask you to invest with us. It would mean we go to the bank, we borrow, we build, we finish, we are charged interest. And then that interest, we pass it on to you. So the person who benefits from this transaction is who? It is the bank. So we said, can we leave the bank out? Yeah? And just go direct to Sonia and say, Sonia, you will get this unit at 1.5, but you need to start paying for it even as we are building. So that is how we approached financing for our projects. And at the beginning, of course, we purely dependent on our investors, but as time has gone by, I mean, we have project 1, 2, 3. We have the benefits of cash flows from other projects funding the new projects. But yes, so Sonia, we don't borrow. That's the approach we used. Yeah. So ultimately, you end up with a unit that is cheaper, and that is where you're able to get rental yields of almost double the market average because you bought it at an affordable price. Yeah. Isaac Evans Musomi, I appreciate real estate for its potential to generate monthly cash flows while appreciating. Are there assets with similar traits? Okay, so let's talk about some different assets. So you have what? What do we start with? Let's start with investing in government securities. So when you invest in government securities, what you earn is you earn interest every biannually. So you earn interest after every 6 months. And then you start. There is cash flows here. Okay, but what a bond? You after appreciation. Another asset have cash You will get dividends. So or what we call equities increase. And so if you wanted to make a profit of share you invested in, so like for, yes, you'll make money, but you can actually lose them. My thoughts there, Evans, has to de-risk investments there. Thank you. Thanks. Compare with other investments. To answer that, I've talked about land again. We have, but land does not have time. It won't give you. It doesn't fast just because you don't have the monthly cash flows. Yeah, I think the other challenge with land, what I've seen is a lot of us, maybe you own land and you want to develop and you want to build apartments, but because that land is in a place far, you still go ahead and build without thinking, because you already own the land, and of course you are attached to the land, without thinking of the question of location, and then you end up with houses that don't have tenants. Yes. Isaac, I hope that's comprehensive enough. Gashau Maina, thanks TSAVO for making it possible for us to own property in the city. Investing for our children's children is now a reality. Oh, thank you so much, Gashau. Yeah, I'm glad that you've joined us today, and it's true. If you go back home, like for me, if I go back to Bungoma, it's a lot easier to actually own property in the smaller towns. I think the prices are not, the assets are not so overpriced, but because in our apartment, what amounts would you be talking about? Martha, what's your thought on building as an individual compared to investing the money in a real estate investment company? Okay, thanks Martha for that question. One of our investors was ready to invest in property. So he runs a very good business, and he was saying he's going to be making some substantial cash flows, and he wanted to build 50 apartments. He had the land already. I don't know whether he had approvals, but he was very close to starting the process. And then someone mentioned to him about TSAVO, and he came to talk to us. So these were the challenges he was processing in his head. His wife would have to quit her job so that she could permanently manage the construction process. Yeah, so one drawback was that. His wife was definitely not a developer. She's not a contractor, she's not a builder, she's not an architect. So she doesn't have the professional skills to be able to develop. So he felt that yes, they would be putting money in these assets, but it is a huge risk. The month and can I buy a year and in 5 years? So for him, that have to quit the job. The risks of construction without the skills, yeah, he was able to sort of not deal with that risk. And of course, even in construction, there's a lot of, let me just call it theft, pilferage. You know, it's not an easy process as a layman. So if you have the opportunity to even invest in TSAVO, you will find it is less stressful. And a lot of times you'll find, if I want to build, perhaps the location I'm building, like the example I've just shared, the location I would be building is not the ideal location for the targeted market. So you'd possibly end up with houses that don't have tenants. Yeah. So come and talk to us if you want to build, and then we'll do the math and see. From a return perspective, you will generally end up at the same level without the headache of you dealing with the construction. Yeah. Martha again, kujenga success ni kujenga. Question. I think I've answered. Akamuru, can one begin investing in real estate with no money? Okay. Labs, you must have something. You must have something. Yeah, you must have something. You know, I think, is it Moses who was asked by God, what do you have in your hands? So what do you have in your hands? You might not have the money now, but you have some skills. Is it possible to convert those skills to give you some money and then be able to? Yes. So you must have something, I think. But it can start with a dream, like Mr. Mcharo's dream. And then with a dream, you make it happen. Yeah? And then Shonia Mohammed, Mrs. Mcharo. Shonia, very few people call me that. Mrs. Mcharo, you missed one more question in the initial comments. Kindly requesting to revisit the question. Oh, okay. Let me see. Shonia. Sorry, Shonia. I hope I'll be able to see. How did you approach financing, especially after you left the bank? I'm not sure what's the part. Did I miss what advice on financing real estate projects? Is there another question? Sorry? In my opinion. It's an earlier than that? Yes. Okay. In your opinion, does Nairobi currently have a real estate, an oversupply of apartments, units? How does one go about entering the market while remaining profitable? Oh, yes, that's a good question, Shonia. So, what do I think about Nairobi? So ideally, we have seen an increase in the population in Kenya. One, and then number two, there is definitely an increase in urbanization. You know, people moving from the rural areas to Nairobi. Number three, you know, if you look at our population dynamics in terms of age, you find that about 70% of our population is less than 70 years. I mean, it's less than 35 years old. That is according to the last census. Yeah. So we have a pool of very, very many young people. And I bet you these young people, while there are some in the rural areas, majority will come to the urban areas. So majority will come to Nairobi. So in a way to answer your question, it depends on which segment of the market you want to focus on. So I won't speak about the high end. I won't speak about the family homes. I would want to just focus on the segment that we operate in, and that is where we are providing houses for young professionals. So this 70% of the population that's less than 35 years, those are many. And just from the look, even Shonia, when you look, how many developers are targeting these people? In our days, we used to live in, I didn't have the opportunity to do that, yeah, but yeah, we used to live in SQs, servants' quarters, efficient because so there is still demand targeting this segment. Yeah, so I won't talk about the other segments of 3 bedrooms or high-end segment, but in our segment we don't have an oversupply. We still have demand. I'll give you an example. We finished our project in Embakasi called TSAVO Studios this month, and we started renting it out this month. And in the month of November, we have let out, as per last week, we had 35 tenants. 35 tenants, that was as per last week. I mean, by end of this week, I'm sure the number is going to be different. Yeah, so I suspect we've already reached 40, just in the last 12 days, within the month of November, right? So that is already a sign that there is demand for units. This project here, I mean, we have very many tenants. We have about 400 and maybe 440. We have about 440 people living in this project. So it's not a project anymore. Living in here in Korobo is where I am. So in this segment of the market, there is still demand, and I don't think there's an oversupply. And I don't think there will be an oversupply anytime soon, given that 70% of our population is less than 35 years old. Sorry? Okay. Thanks, Sean. I hope, Sonia, that has helped. Gerald, during the process of the 15 years, what knowledge did you realize that you never read in books? Mr. Mcharo, where are you? You want to help? What knowledge did you realize that you never read in books? I think in the process, in the experience, we kept learning as we were going. We've talked about the number of conversations we used to have because we had big dreams and very little income. We used to talk a lot. And in the process of talking, in addition to reading books, we would come to learn stuff. I mean, the discipline of saving, the discipline of being very focused, one-track-minded. We're putting our money here and we're putting our money here. The discipline of knowing that I have a goal and therefore I have to move. If it means changing jobs, if it means getting another employer who would possibly allow me to be able to achieve my goal or achieve my dream, if it means Mr. Mcharo doing other jobs in addition to his day job, just to raise more funds. So some of those things we were learning on the go, yeah? So I think once you start a process, you will start picking lessons as you go. Every day you learn something, And even just the pivotal change after 7 years, yeah? Nobody had told us it's gonna take 7 years. Nobody had told us at the beginning will be very bumpy. And we would be thinking, what are we doing? It's really tough. Nobody had told us those things, but those things we learned as we were going, yeah? Yes, we had a projection of time. We knew it was gonna take time, but you kind of always hope it won't be too long, or you'll start enjoying the benefits sooner. Yeah. So just starting, the process of starting, you will find lessons on the way as you go. Yes. Are we done? I think I have more questions here. Gashao Maina again, important investment gain being passed in mental transformation of our children. Our college-age daughter, is already thinking of real estate. What was I don't know what he meant. What was I thinking at her age, but intentionality? Okay, I think Gashao is just comparing himself and his daughter, who is already thinking about investing in real estate. Yeah, I agree with you, Gashao. When I was 19, I think I had just joined campus. Yeah, I don't think I was thinking about investing at all. And my 19-year-old is already working in a real estate company and learning a lot. So yes, just that ability of us, the ability of transforming this knowledge to our children is very important. And the schools are not going to do that. The schools are not going to do that. Our children's peers are not going to do that. The marketing industry is not going to do that. The marketing industry will always advertise what is good for them and not necessarily what is good for our children. Peer pressure. There's a lot of things that go on nowadays. So if we don't become intentional around our children, all this wealth we are thinking of creating will ultimately go to waste. So thank you, Gerald, for working with your daughter. Gerald again. Actually, no, thank you, Gashao. Gerald again. I'm glad you made it clear it takes time to even get the first return on real estate investment. My thought was like, is ASAP after investment? No. It can never be ASAP. And even when you invest in TSAVO, that's my prayer, that we will just have the patience to know, year one, 12,000, after investing in a studio, year two, it becomes 24. But remember, by year two, if you've invested in two, the 24 will be paying for the third. Yeah? And in time, let's say by year 5, the 5 units will be paying for 2, 3, 4. So by year 6, it's possible to do 3 units and not the one you're doing progressively on an annual basis. So yeah, just that patience is very important. Eric Aluma, I have small pieces of land that is currently idle. Would such interest you to invest for minimal returns? Property suitable for single house dwelling. Okay, Eric, yeah, we could check, but again, location. Yes, we could check, but our key criteria would really just be the location. But maybe that's a good direction for you to start thinking. Don't sit with idle assets. Yeah. So if an asset is not generating for you cash flows, don't sit with it. Start thinking, how do I convert this asset into a cash flow generating asset? Yeah. Yeah. So that's a good direction for you, Eric. Shonia Mohammed, very informative session. Thank you. Irene Guitar is on fire. Thanks, Irene. Very informative. Thank you very much for this. Ms. Mcharo is answering Gerald. Gerald, some lessons were discipline, hyper-focus, grit. There's a book called Grit. And we say grit will take you there. Yeah. In fact, it's one of our core values at home. Grit will take you there. We tell our children that. Talking, yes. Shared goals, yes. Patience, yes. Humility and character. I think when Mr. Mcharo was talking about men and money, he really talked about the humility part. Yes, so those are some of the lessons we learned. Thanks, Honey, for just sharing. We have ignored Facebook for a while. Let's see what we have here. Oh. Sally, do you think urbanization? I think we spoke about urbanization. Yes, Sally. And then Kagoria, thank you, Emily. That is clear. Thanks, Kagoria. Angie, good pointers. Encouraging message on not giving up in real estate investment. My investing journey just got a boost. Yes, well done, Angie. Let's hang in there. I'm your biggest fan. Kagoria again. Between investing in money markets and real estate, which one has less risk and more profitable? Okay, so money market has no growth. Let's just start there. So you'll get the return you're getting in money markets is very low. What's money market? Putting your funds in a fixed deposit. That's money market. If you went to a bank today and you wanted to, you wanted to save, what rate would you be getting, right? When there was interest rate capping, at least there was a regulation that talked about the interest rates. But now, it's the bank to decide what interest rate they're going to pay you. You can get as low as 2, 3, 4% on your money, right? And that's on an annual basis. But that money remains the same. Again, as we said earlier, it does not appreciate. If you put $1 million, you will get back $1 million. So if you're earning 2% on $1 million, and then there is inflation, at the end you get $1 million. Inflation would have eaten the 2% return you got. So that's the challenge with money markets. There's no appreciation and the returns are very low. Maybe a very risk-averse person, there are people who just want to know, I have money in the bank. That gives them comfort, peace of mind, but it doesn't create wealth. I think that's being extremely risk-averse. But if you can be bold enough to take a bit of risk, and real estate really is not risky. Yeah? The only risk in real estate is if you do not understand where you're investing. If you don't answer the question of location, where, then it becomes a bit risky. You'll end up with units that don't have rent. Yeah, I hope that helps. Elizabeth Juguna, indeed, eye-opening conversation. How would you support a landowner in a prime location to put up rentals? Elizabeth, can we take that offline? Yeah, probably reach out to one of us, and we'll be able to see. Again, we will be interested to answer the question of location. Betty Ouma, very informative and encouraging talk. Thank you. I think I've read all the questions. I see we are running out of time. Thank you. Today has been really, really nice. Today has been fantastic. I can see Mr. Mcharo on this side. The other lesson is that real estate returns and lessons are not additive. They are compounding. A miracle we have to enjoy. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. It's not 10 shillings becomes 20, becomes 40. It is compounding. So 10 can become 50 and 50 can become 200. That's how compounding works. Yeah. Sylvia Njoroge, good to know about money markets. Yes. So I think we shall stop there. I think we've run out of time. Sally has given Elizabeth her number, so yes, Elizabeth, you can reach out to us. Instagram, thank you guys. Let me just see. It is advisable to take a loan to invest in real estate. Is it advisable to take a loan to invest in real estate? Gosh, time is over. Can we answer that question just in the whatever? Yes, in the mtandao. Instagram, my apologies, looks like I didn't look at Instagram much. But yes, thank you guys. It's been very, very informative. I have totally enjoyed this session. I hope we have learned. Passing short, off-plan has had its challenges in the market, right? But if you can get a trusted partner who would allow you to invest in real estate off-plan, the returns will be much, much better than if you went to a finished product. So that's my parting shot. Look for a partner, a credible partner, and remember our session on due diligence, and do your due diligence thoroughly. Then you will get higher returns, even from off-plan. Yeah. So that's my parting shot on real estate. Thank you, guys. Yeah, I think we'll stop there. May God bless you. Thanks for joining us. Please share. Some usually say share, subscribe, like. Yes. My people are laughing at me. And then lastly, last week I talked about the fire alarm email. Yes, so if you have anything that you want to share with us, please share in that email address. Again, what is it, Sam? alarm@TSAVO.ke. Yes, alarm@TSAVO.ke. Feel free to send us any message there. Thank you all. God bless you. Have a good night. Yeah, and see you next Friday. Bye-bye. I do.